Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Comic Book Geezers. I'm your host, Pete, and my co-host...
Wild Bill the Unknown Comic. Welcome back again, comic book lovers.
Today we're going to talk about a legendary character who crossed over literature, comics, magazines, movies, the whole shebang. We're talking about Doc Savage.
He got started in the 1930s. Was written in publications.
Yeah, pulp magazines, pulp novels, and newspapers and all that kind of stuff. Originally created to be like a weekly.
The writer was Lester Dent.
Lester Dent,
was the originator.
Yeah, and he went under a bunch of different names. Kenneth Robeson is another name he used quite a bit. So all throughout the 30s and 40s, you would see Doc Savage all over the place. Kind of like really the first ever superhero.
Before Superman?
Before Superman.
But he had no superpowers.
But he had no superpowers. But as we'll talk about throughout this episode, he did have certain characteristics about him that
physical abilities
that made him almost like a Superman, type of thing. So we go back. So again, they published a lot of different stories, and there's tons of them, as we'll talk about throughout this episode, and weekly pulp magazines and newspapers. But in the 60s and 70s, they started putting together, and it was Bantam books, which most of you remember, like the old Tarzan books and the John Carter Warlord of Mars and all that kind of stuff. They would publish old stories in like book format. So they started releasing in the 60s and 70s all the different stories in about like 125 page novels. This is the very, very first one. Okay, The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage. Okay, and throughout the 60s and 70s and the 80s, they would just keep releasing more and more and more. Now, I am the proud owner of, I have almost the entire collection.
Wow.
I think they went up to close to 150, and I have a whole box sitting right next to me of a bunch of them. I just wanted to kind of show some of them, the first 10 real quick. Here's the
How long did it take you to collect all those?
Most of my life. I've been collecting these since I was a kid. And in fact,
wow.
I stopped for a long time, and then about 10 years ago, I started up again. It's amazing what you can find out there.
Wow.
Here's number 3, The Meteor Menace. And these are the Bomber covers. This guy is a great artist.
These are good covers, yeah.
These are amazing. And then we got number 4, The Polar Treasure.
Check that out.
And these you could buy. I remember when I was buying these off the newsstand when I was a kid, they were 75 cents. Now you can go find them like on Amazon used in not great condition.
Bookstores are dying because of the internet, which is sad.
Number 5, Brand of the Werewolf. You can go buy these for a couple bucks, if that, which is really cool. So they're still out there. The Lost Oasis.
Check that out.
And these were a mix of like action, adventure, a little bit of sci-fi. But remember, these were written in the 30s and 40s. So sci-fi back then, it's amazing. Like, how like James Bond had all the gadgets and all that kind of stuff? Well, think of that 30 or 40 years before, or maybe not, about 30 years beforehand. And that's what you have. So all this stuff that's like, today is like, it may seem a little archaic. Back then, pretty cool ideas.
It was innovative at the time.
And they had a lot of stories where, they'd come across like monsters and dinosaurs. In the end, they would turn out to be not, obviously, but still very cool stuff. Number 9, this is a really cool cover. Mystic Mula.
Check that out.
And on all these covers, Doc is like this strong guy with like, the skull cap and the ripped shirt and the rippling muscles. Here's
I always thought when I was a kid, I knew somebody who was older than me had an awesome comic collection. And they always thought the Doc Savage comic book covers were awesome covers.
Yeah, which we're
going to get into, but he didn't have a very long run with Marvel Comics. Only
Not
8 issues.
8 issues. It started in late 1972, ran to 74. But as Bill said, very, very cool covers. And here's issue number 1.
Check that out.
Which is pretty neat.
This is issue number 2, the oldest in my collection. I only have 4 of them. Pete has them all.
Now that is noteworthy. That is a Jim Steranko cover.
Check that out.
As is the next one.
And then I have it. Number 3, which I present. Nice.
That is a great cover.
I got these 2 from, I think, our buddy Kirk.
Kirk Manning.
It was 2 and 3 I got from him.
This one here I have had in my collection since I was a kid. It's actually in pretty damn good shape. This is number 4.
That is a good cover.
Okay.
Number 5.
Number 5. And I forget who drew this one, but this is kind of cool too. And many of these, as I'll start showing momentarily, are based on actual books.
Number 6. That's a good.
That's a great one. Yeah,
that's
one of the best issues in the whole series, if you ask me.
That is definitely cool. The Man of Bronze.
Yes.
That was his slogan. Number 7.
Number 7. Let's show 7 and 8 together because this was a 2-part story. This is based on the Brand of the Werewolf book.
Check that out.
Very, very cool.
And I didn't when I picked. This was the first one in my collection. I did not know that this was the last issue of Doc Savage. I had no idea how long he ran.
Rich Buckler cover. Both great covers of these.
This is definitely cool. Anything with a werewolf in it,
Oh, yes.
I'm all over that. You know that gang into the monsters.
And he had one giant size, which was basically just a
reprint
of the first 2 issues, but also this came out right around the time. That
cover's a little faded.
Cover's a little faded, and
still,
not quite as colorful. And they use the exact same cover too, but they just changed the colors a little bit.
Oh yeah,
they changed the shirt.
Changed the title.
It changed the shirt.
They straightened yours out a little bit. Yeah, they changed the title. But if this was in good shape, this would probably be a much brighter red. This was definitely sitting in a car. This got exposed to sunlight. But still, that's pretty cool to have a giant size.
Yep.
Is that the only one they did?
That's the only one they did. So at the same time, if you notice on the cover of that one, it says movie issue. So right around that same time, they came out with the Doc Savage film, which was directed by George Pal, who, if some of you might remember, did a bunch of animated films at the time. Probably not a great choice. And starring Ron Ely, right here, who at the time was kind of like
what year did that come out?
This, I believe, was it had to have been the same year, so 74, I think this was.
Early 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
is it any good?
It's because I'm a fan of the character. I like this. It's pretty silly.
It's cheesy?
It's pretty cheesy, but worth, Ron Ely was the guy who they
So low-budget fans might like it anyway.
It's fun for what it is. So a little bit more about the character. So Doc Savage, bronze skin, he would go through, he had a very rich father who passed away, and Doc had a group of aides who, worked alongside. I'm trying to get a book that's got all of them. Here they are here. So you got Monk Mayfair, and you got Rennie Renwick, and you've got Ham Brooks, you've got John Long Tom and Johnny. And each one had a
John Long Tom?
No, Long John Long.
Sounds like a porn star. That's all I'm going to say.
Johnny and Long. Was it Long Tom? Oh, geez,
Long Dong.
I can't believe I'm forgetting this. But anyway,
each one. Let's go show them up. There they are. There they behind him.
Yes.
So zoom
Long
in.
John
Silver, the restaurant.
But each one had a very special talent. So one was a chemist, one was an engineer, one was a lawyer, one was like a physicist. They all had, and they were all very expert fighters and all that kind of stuff. So a very, very great group, and they always traveled together. In every case they did, they all did together. So a really cool bunch of characters that made for great stories, and
scientific geniuses, so to speak, put together.
Pretty much. And Doc Savage had for a man, I mean, he was very tall. He had superhuman strength for a regular man. Expert hearing. He spoke many different languages.
He was very acrobatic as well.
Very acrobatic. Stamina like you would not believe it. Every day, and they talk about this in every book and every story, every day he would go through 2 hours of intense training. Every day he would just say, "Okay, got to," and he would disappear, and he'd go do all this crazy stuff. You have to do all this workout and relaxation and yoga and all this kind of stuff. So again, they created all these gadgets and things and they had
So he's kind of like a Tarzan character, because Tarzan was popular in the 30s, but he was a civilized kind of guy.
Right, and much more technologically advanced.
Okay.
And they had this hideout in New York City right along the Hudson River that they had a submarine and a helicopter, all this stuff that
that was his headquarters?
That was his the headquarters of all the transportation and weapons and all that kind of stuff. So crazy stuff, but very, very cool for the time, right?
Yeah, futuristic
Yeah,
for the
you
time.
read it now. I mean, I still read these books, I enjoy them, but you read it now, it's it's obviously very dated. But anyway. So the 8-issue run, color run of Marvel ended.
So it ended in 74, and then what, in 75 they come out with the magazine?
75 they decided to throw Doc Savage back into the waters, into their new run of black and white magazines. I don't have issue number 1, but I have all the others. So here's issue number 2.
And how long did this run?
This ran also, I believe, 8 issues, right? Let's see.
Get rid of that.
8 issues, ironically.
8 issues.
Yeah. So,
8's a good number.
Yeah, it's a great number.
I bet it when I play craps. It comes out a lot. 8 the hard way is even better.
Here's the 3rd issue. And you'll see, again, the similarities. Always, he's got the ripped shirt on the front. but very, very cool artwork. This is very reminiscent to the artwork of the Bantam books. So they tried to capture that same spirit. I mean, look at this. This, if I remember correctly, this story was in Scotland. They went to Scotland. They're hearing about this Loch Ness Monster because, again, remember, these stories are supposedly taking place in the 30s, and that's when the first sightings of the so-called Loch Ness Monster were happening.
Which is a hoax. It's 3 tires tied together.
That's right.
I saw it. I know.
This is the oldest one that I originally had in my collection. I bought this off the newsstand.
Oh, that's cool.
Great cover, right? Look at that.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then this one, Bill's going to like this one. He got some creatures coming up here.
This guy always surprises me with these books and magazines he's got. I'm always visiting quite a bit, but I never see this stuff until we start taping these shows. So I'm getting a treat as well as you guys.
See that? Look at this one. You're going to like that.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Look at the evil eyes in the background.
Yep.
What is that? Monster? Or
yeah, some kind of giant spider or something. I don't remember.
It feeds on Men's mind. Men's mind.
Men's mind.
I'm reading backwards.
So ironically,
that is cool, man.
So again,
but I don't like the barcode.
Well, yeah. Well, they started popping. Yeah,
barcodes started to come out in '76, I believe.
Yeah, these all have them. So 75. These came out in 75.
Oh,
so, actually, no. So the first couple don't. So with issue number 4,
which is probably 1976,
is the first appearance of that dreaded barcode right there.
And if it's not 76, it's late 75.
So at the end of issue 8, they decided once again to put Doc Savage on the shelf, and that actually was the last time we would see Doc Savage in Marvel. However,
DC,
many years later, we're going to fast forward to, what did we say, 2010.
2010.
And actually, before we jump into the DC run, Bill's got a volume over here that actually, if you like what you see with the magazines, you can pick this up. And DC published this. This is actually a collection
of all the magazines we just showed you.
From Marvel.
So does that mean that DC paid the rights, or they both had the rights to the character? Perhaps? Maybe they had some kind of legal permission from Marvel to publish this?
That's my guess, because as it turns out, to coincide with this release, which is the old Marvel mags, and yeah, so you'll see the cover. See, we showed this one before in color.
That's pretty cool.
So right about the same time that DC is publishing this volume of all the old Marvel mags, DC then decided to do a color run of all new Doc Savage stories, all in DC Comics, called First Wave.
I'm trying to flip through to get another cover. Well, that one looks pretty. That's a cool pick.
It is.
There. The back cover.
Back, yep. So a nice little volume, which collects, again, if you're having a hard time. I mean, you can find those black and white magazines. They're out there. The ones I didn't have.
Pete found them.
Yeah, they're out there. So the Doc Savage DC run called First Wave. I don't have issue number 1, but here's issue number 2. I will say the artwork is not nearly as good as it was back in the old Marvel days, as you kind of will get to see here. Obviously more modern looking.
Futuristic.
Yeah, and obviously, Doc doesn't look quite the same.
Oh, your left-hand looks different there.
He does, yeah. He's got more hair here, obviously.
He's a little bit more beefed up, too.
Yeah.
He's been doing 4-hour workouts now.
But again, this is the 2000s. This is what did we say, 2010 these ran?
8 years ago. We're in 2018.
So you could tell a lot more kind of
futuristic.
I
like the fire on the cover.
Yeah.
It's got some good colors.
Yeah. You'll notice the next couple that are coming up look a little bit more like the old Doc Savage stuff. I mean, look at that. That's a different artwork. That looks a little more, that's a little better.
Again, more fire.
Trying to get that Obama feel, from the original books. You'll see here these next couple. So that looks much better.
Definitely cool.
See that? Pretty neat. That's again like that's
That's the 1930s kind of pants. He's wearing the baggy pants.
Absolutely. They're trying to
go horseback riding later. That's cool. Let's show that one again.
Yeah, that's a good one. But again, fairly good stories. Doc Savage brought into the the 2000s.
How's the back covers on these? Go ahead, show that one.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I want to see a back cover. If I see Evil Knievel on the back, I'm going to freak.
I have a feeling you won't.
Oh,
it's all video games, right? Yeah, that's.
Is this a game?
It's a game. Yeah, that's what's popular now. So back when we were kids, the back of these
toys.
It was
video games were not really out yet.
No.
The first video game system was Atari.
Yeah, and that was
the cartridge 77. It came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. What else you got?
So you're gonna like this one, The Mummy.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
That is cool.
That's a pretty good cover. And here, Doc fighting.
Oh,
Yeah, we got
Go ahead, bring it up.
We got some good ones coming up.
Evil Crocodile.
Evil Crocodile.
Kind of like
the
Conan
green.
reminiscent.
Yep, I like the green on that. And look at this one. Pterodactyl. Fury from long ago. That's a
Check that out.
That's a pretty cool one. And they continue.
Pterodactyl.
As you can see, they tried to really like amp up what was going on in the last couple issues in the run.
Evil caveman.
Yeah, exactly.
Stone Age. He goes back to the Stone Age, I'm going to guess.
So the last one I have is issue 17. I don't remember exactly how long these ran, but I have a good chunk of them.
Definitely cool.
Yeah. Is that all we got?
That's it.
That's it. So that's Doc Savage. As you can, and we might as well talk about. So it's been long rumored that they are going to do a new Doc Savage film. It's rumored to be starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
That'll be interesting.
Might be a good
that's a good pick, I would think.
I think in stature, the way he looks, that'd be good. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is that The Rock, always in all his films, he's got this kind of like sly, kind of cutesy sense of humor thing.
Yeah.
Doc Savage, the character, does not have that at all. He is very straight-laced, doesn't talk much. I hope
he's kind of like a stiff, huh?
He is, yeah. So I just hope, and I really hope that when they
try to stick true to the character.
Stick true to the character. So do the
cut
right
out
thing
the humor like all the other Marvel
movies. But they're
movies.
really going to have to find a good cast to
back him up,
to have his the five
scientists,
his aides, because they're very well-rounded characters in the books, and I really think that they didn't do a good job in the first film on his aides. They really didn't. I didn't like the casting of them, and I thought that they just didn't really.
They probably thought a lot of people didn't even know who he was, so they might have been able to get away with it.
Probably.
So they took a gamble.
Yeah.
But if they do that again, Pete's going to know about it, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan. So anyway.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks for being here with us. I'm Wild Bill, saying thanks for joining us again for another episode of Comic Book Geezers, and we hope you like our new banner.
That's right.
We are slowly growing. We have a few subscribers extra now. We're growing, so keep watching and keep sending us your comments.
And please send us your comments. We really want to see your feedback, and we love when dialogue goes on in the comments section. So
do we answer you? Pete's mainly the guy that answers.
I read them all. You're not going to get anything by me. So I would love to get into conversations with you in the comments section, and he checks them out every now and then too. So if you have any ideas about future shows you'd like to see, let us know. If you have any questions or feedback on the shows you watched, we love to hear it.
We like that you're watching, and we appreciate your support. So thanks again.
So what do we got coming up? We got Omega the Unknown.
Yes, Omega the Unknown, and maybe an episode about Thanos. Even though there's not many comic books on Thanos that we have, but we'd like to talk about Thanos since he's like the hottest villain now in the movie industry.
And we're going to review the Avengers Infinity War film. We're going to review the Batman vs. Superman film. We're going to review Deadpool 2, and we got some other stuff we're talking about.
So we got a few things in the pot we're stirring around.
Yep.
So thanks for joining us again. This is Wild Bill saying thanks for being with us.
And Peace. We'll see you real soon, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.